The history of Chaska over the past 170 years has been the coming together of a diverse and multicultural community. All who came to Chaska had the common goals to pursue life, personal liberties, and happiness. The City of Chaska's Human Rights Commission celebrates the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to honor his leadership and inspire us to do the things that bind us together. The troubles of the past and of today remind us to remember the words of Dr. King and those that came before him. Our ancestral roots are acknowledged in the following greeting. Hello, I welcome you to this yearly event where wisdom is shared and the hopes of the community are heard.
Hallo und willkommen zu diesem jährlichen Treffen, wo Weisheiten mitgeteilt werden und Hoffnungen der Gemeinde angehört werden.
Hej och välkomna till vår årliga träff där vi får ta del av delad gemenskap och visdom.
Hola, les damos hoy la bienvenida a este evento anual donde se comparte la sabiduría y se escucha la esperanza de la comunidad.
Здравствуйте! Я приветствую вас на мероприятии, где мудрость объединяет, а надежды людей услышаны.
Assalamualaikum. Waxaan idinku soo dhaweynaynaa munaasabadan sanadlaha ah ee xikmadda lagu wadaago rajada bulshadana lagu maqlo. Mahadsanidin.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 5th Annual Chaska Human Rights Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration. My name is Sienna White, and for the past year, I have served as the youth representative on the commission. Before we officially get started, I'd like to point out that there are masks and hand sanitizer near the doorway. We encourage you to keep your mask on when not actively eating or drinking. As for this event, it is wonderful to see so many faces this morning. And on behalf of the Chaska Human Rights Commission, we want to welcome and thank you all for joining us as we reflect on the legacy of Martin Luther King. Dr. King's legacy still stands today as we honor him for the work he did to pursue his dreams, as well as the life-changing speeches we all remember to this day. With art, music, speakers, and more, we want to thank you, and we are excited to welcome community members. Please join me in watching this collection of different community members in reflecting on this Martin Luther King Jr. quote, "If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way." So let us begin as we officially kick off our 5th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration.
Dr. King's words challenge us to take action in both big and small ways. In fact, that was one of our goals in selecting the passage from Dr. King about doing small things in great ways for our community. So what things can we do for our community? Listen, get involved, be passionate with our elected leaders, be concerned about your neighbors. That's what makes our community and will make our community a great place to live and work.
The Martin Luther King Jr. quote, "If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way," is immensely impactful and carries an extreme weight in our world today. To me, it means that any action, no matter how small, that does even a modicum of good in our world is ultimately worth it. We won't all be able to be world shakers like Martin Luther King Jr. was. We won't all be able to define a movement and globally champion a noble cause. But we can do our part to call out injustice in our everyday lives as we see it. We can show our financial and moral support to organizations committed to positive change. We can be a small part of a larger movement dedicated to growth. Using this philosophy, we can honor the dreams of Martin Luther King Jr. and work towards a world that he and his compatriots of every past generation would be proud of. It is in these small, great actions, compounding over a lifetime, that everyone, no matter how big or small, can leave their mark on this world.
Some of the little things that I think a person can do are, number one, get vaccinated. And on a daily basis, there are things we can volunteer at places like his house or a food shelf or our launch ministry. I'm sure there's a lot of places in the area that would like to have more help. And if you can't donate your time, you could donate clothing, household goods, things like that. In the summer, if you have a garden and you have more produce than you need, there's a little pantry by the Moravian Church that gets a lot of use, and you can bring your extra produce to places like that.
I would say the best way to make this a better community would be to generally give people the benefit of the doubt, believe the good, and smile.
I think a small thing that we can do is be helpful and kind to everybody, whether it's somebody you know, a neighbor, a friend, a family member, or somebody you don't know. I think that if you're helpful and kind, that will have a positive impact on our community.
The MLK quote inspires me to try to be a good and kind person to everyone. I especially like the first part where it says, if I cannot do great things, because it implies that the first choice is obviously to do great things. And because of certain privileges I have in my life, I am sometimes in a better position to more easily do certain things, which it's just a good reminder that I should use my privileges for the greater good of the community. I hope to live up to MLK's hopes and dreams by simply trying my best, even when it's scary or it seems like it's not doing enough, just trying. And then something I think our whole community can do, something small, is just talking. Whether it be to people who have been hurt to hear their stories and try to listen and learn from them, or if it's talking to people who have hurt others to try to teach them and get them to understand why their words were wrong.
I just think getting out and voting for our public officials, our city council, our mayor, or else volunteering to be on one of the commissions, like the Park Commission or some other commission. I think those are just some small things that we could do to improve Chaska.
I think by saying this quote, MLK was trying to get at the fact that, we can't all donate huge sums of money to charities, or, we can't all pass laws to create change. And knowing this, I think he was trying to inspire those who felt helpless to create change, especially in the tumultuous time that he lived in. I think he's trying to say that, we don't have to do those big things. We can still create change, even through our small actions, through our interactions with others. We can still be vehicles for change in those areas of our life. I think in order to live up to MLK's goals and dreams, not only for, communities across America, but the world in general, I think I'm going to try to make every interaction with others positive, and I just want to make other people feel good. I think that's what MLK would want. I think he'd want everyone to get along and to, just embrace each other for who we are and not based on, skin color or any other, qualifying factor that we might place on ourselves now. And then I think some small things that we can do that'll make a positive impact on our community. I think we can encourage everyone, young, old, to try to, make every interaction positive and to always to really be kind. I think we should emphasize kindness. And I think by inspiring everyone and encouraging everyone to show kindness in their everyday interactions and actions towards others, I think that we can make a positive impact on our community.
I would urge anyone in the city of Chaska to familiarize yourself with the history of this community. It is interesting, it is challenging, it is so important to become involved and know why and how things progressed to what they are today. We have a history center down in downtown Chaska in a beautiful old building, open 2 times a week, Tuesdays and Fridays in the afternoon. So I would urge all of you, anybody, to come down because it's an interesting place to visit.
I think that this quote means that no matter how far the finish line may seem, and no matter how difficult the task may be, it's very important that you know that your efforts are what matters most, and you can still make a great impact and have a great outcome just by doing your hardest and doing your best and being present and putting effort in. And I think in a time like that we are in right now, everything is undecided and unknown, and it's very difficult, but just trying your hardest and doing your best and being there can still make a great impact and great outcomes. And I think that I personally can live by this by, like I said, just doing your hardest and just trying my best and knowing that no matter what the outcomes are, that I know that I did my best and I did what I could to make an impact.
Be kind. Just be kind. When you pass somebody on a sidewalk, maybe look at them and nod or say hi. Just always be kind and respectful to everyone. And I think that could go a long way.
Hello. Here's 2 things to make Chaska better. Get to meet your neighbors and get to know them and be kind to them, and be kind to the people around you, and stay safe.
What are some small things that we can do to help our community? Get to know other people's stories. Share your own. Listen. Be curious. Get involved with something that you're passionate about.
The civil rights movement started in 1950 after nearly a century of inequality and segregation for the African Americans. Over the course of the next 2 decades, countless Black men and women mobilized, organizing boycotts, sit-ins, and nonviolent protests, such as the 1961 Freedom Rides and the 1963 March of Oppression. Thanks to their tireless efforts, often in the face of jail time and retaliation, Congress eventually passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, ending segregation in public places and banning employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. 1 year later, U.S. lawmakers also passed another landmark piece of civil rights legislation, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. One of those men was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., widely recognized as the most prominent figure and one of the Big Six organizers of the civil rights movement. He organized many nonviolent protests, such as the Montgomery bus boycott, where he delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech. He fought for equality for all Black men and women until his death on April 4th of 1968.
Hello everyone, and welcome to The Price is Right. No. Welcome to No Answer is a Bad Answer. My name is Kieran, and I am a representative of Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you all for being here on this very important day. Now, I will ask 3 questions, 1 question at a time. And I will give each one of you 15 seconds to respond. And then I will keep on going with the next question. Any question? Here you go. First question. Who is the person you learned about, and what is the impact that Dr. King had in his or her life? Mesley.
My person is Stacey Abrams, and she worked on voting civil rights for all color, race, and religion.
Thank you. Lydia.
My person is Dorcetta Taylor, and she thought it was unfair that in Martin Luther King's time they fought to drink from the same fountains as white people, and now they fight to drink from the same pure water.
Yeah, great job. Now, Liam.
I learned about William Barber II. Dr. King had an impact on him by leading the civil rights movement. At 15, William was elected leader of a civil rights campaign.
Great job. And Clara.
My person is Stacey Abrams, and Dr. King influenced her by giving her the spirit and hope to fight for what is right and act on what she sees unjust.
Okay, perfect. Second question. What have you learned from the work of this person? Mesley.
I learned that if it wasn't for Stacey Abrams and many more people, the Black races would not be able to vote or be heard.
Thank you. Lydia.
I learned that Black people are still being mistreated a long time after Martin Luther King's movement.
Great job. And Liam?
I learned that the hunger and misery that William witnessed himself inspired the Poor People's March in Washington.
Great. And Clara?
That if you see something that is unjust, try to change it as much as you can, no matter your role in life.
Okay, guys, and now, the final question. What can you do to impact other people in the same way? Mesley.
I will respect all races and religion how they should have been respected since the beginning, equally.
Perfect. Lydia.
I will do what I can to help make sure people get their voices heard and make sure they have proper living materials.
Yep. And Liam?
I think that you should treat others equally no matter their race.
Very true. And finally, Clara.
Try to help people and be kind as much as possible, even if it's hard. You might change someone's life in a small or a big way.
Thank you so much for your participation. And remember, if you cannot do great things, you can do small things in a great way.
But if I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way.
If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way.
If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way.
If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way.
Thank you, everybody.
For the Be a slave. I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Father and be saved. If we will join in all doing these things, we'll be able to speed up the coming of the new world, a new world in which all men will live together as brothers, a world in which all men will beat their swords and plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, a world in which all men will no longer take necessities from the masses to give luxuries to the classes, a world in which all men will respect the dignity and worth of all human personality. Then we'll be able to sing from the great tradition of our nation. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. This must become literally true. Freedom must ring from every mountainside. Yes, let it ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, from the mighty Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from every mountainside, from every molehill in Mississippi, but from every stone mountain of Georgia, from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee, yes, and from every hill and mountain of Alabama. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. When this day finally comes, the morning stars will sing together, and the sons of God will shout for joy. Thank you.
Thank you, Suad. And thank you, Tanisha and Steve. That was beautiful. Good morning. I am so happy to introduce today's keynote speaker. Jonathan Palmer is the 6th Executive Director for Hallie Q Community Center, a 93-year-old African-American nonprofit social service agency in St. Paul. In 2018, he received proclamations from the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners and the Mayor of the City of St. Paul for a decade of service with Hallie Q Brown and restoring and preserving this historic community institution. Jonathan received his BA in psychology from Morehouse College and is completing an MA in public affairs from the Humphrey Institute of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota. Jonathan holds a wealth of experience in community-based activism, leadership, and volunteer work throughout his life in Minnesota and across the country. He's an avid historian, and he gives presentations and lectures on African, African American, and Scottish history and culture, as well as systemic racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion. He's an artist, a poet, a singer, genealogist, and an urban superhero working hard to make a difference in the communities that he serves. Jonathan lives in North Minneapolis with his daughter Siobhan and their cat Lizzie. Many of you may remember Jonathan from a few years ago when he joined us in Chaska to facilitate community discussions accompanying the video series Raise the Power of an Illusion. We're honored to have Jonathan back in our community and to share with us on this special day. So please help me give a warm welcome to Jonathan Palmer.
Good morning. I'm so honored to be here with you this morning and to talk a little bit about the legacy of Dr. King, as well as the quote that we have. If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way. One of the things that we talk about and we think about is with Dr. King, the March on Washington, the letter from a Birmingham jail. We think about the really big things, but it's actually the smaller things. And throughout his legacy and his time, he talked so much about that. If you can't be a bush, if you can't be a tree, if you can't be a highway, be a trail, if you can't be a sun, be a star. What you have with Dr. King is a consistent message of great things are great, but small things are the things that make a difference. That people can help, people can make a difference, people can be engaged. Everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And what I want to share with you a little bit today is some of the efforts over time that happen where people do small things that become very great and make a difference around that. I think Kevin's going to help me with some, he's running back to his position. He's going to help me with just a few visuals. So I wanted to share some of those examples with you all. So if we throw up the first one, I'll talk a little bit about Dr. King. And this is Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays. Dr. Mays was a Baptist minister as well as educator. The Benjamin Mays Ivy World School in St. Paul is named for him. He was the spiritual mentor of Dr. King. He was the 6th president of Morehouse College, Dr. King and my alma mater. And when Dr. King was there, despite being the son, grandson, and great-grandson of Baptist ministers, Dr. King actually didn't want to go into that field. And it was Dr. Mays who convinced him that this was the path for him to take. So when you consider the impact that he had on our world, how much it would have been different if he had not gone down that way. And Dr. Mays, doing a small thing, talking with him, being connected to him. He would constantly have talk with Dr. Mays after his lectures and his sermons, giving him the inspiration. It was a way of doing something small that had a great impact. We're going to advance to the next one. This is S. Edward Hall. S. Edward Hall was a barber in St. Paul. He, with his brother Ori, opened their barber shop, and through that created a network. During the time that he did this first half of the 20th century, about a fourth of the barbers in the city of St. Paul were African Americans. And so the patronage from that was not just African American community, but also the white community and other communities. What S. Edward Hall was able to do with his brother was to create a network to help find jobs. The patronage that he would have, he would get tips from the individuals and be able to pass that out to the community. Their barbershop became the place that you went when you were looking for a job, when you were looking to be connected into other resources. It's a small thing that did great, that impacted the community around. S. Edward Hall also went on to be one of the founders of the St. Paul NAACP branch, the St. Paul Urban League, and our organization, Hallie Q Community Center. So again, looking at people who do small things in great ways that grow to be much larger things than you're expecting. Next, if we can. This is Hallie Quinn Brown. This is the person our organization is named for. At the turn of the 20th century, she traveled around Europe and America talking about suffrage, women's suffrage issues, talking about civil rights issues. She campaigned for Calvin Coolidge. She spoke before the 1924 Republican National Convention. She started the National Association of Colored Women's Club, and most people don't know about her because there's no Lifetime original movie or action figure or anything like that. We get into this broad misconception that Black history began with slavery, sometime later Martin Luther King was born, then Barack Obama became president, and that's really all that happened. Turns out there's a little bit more. And Hallie Quinn Brown is one of those examples. As far back as 1890, she was going around up to the Twin Cities and talking at the Black social clubs, talking at the Black churches, inspiring people. One of the things that she did that was really significant, though, we advance to the next slide, is wrote a book called Homespun, Heroines, and Women of Distinction. This story, it profiles 60 African American women who lived between 1760 and 1920. They were the first African American woman to get a Bachelor's of Arts degree. It is Booker T. Washington's wife, Phyllis Wheatley. She wrote this book because people didn't know about these women who were doing small things in great ways, who were going ahead and impacting the world around them. And she said, somebody needs to know about this, people need to know, and so I'm gonna write about them. And so she did. There's a free version, electronic version, that is linked through our website. So if you go to our website, you can read about these women and the impact they have. But that is the overall people. There is examples, one after the other, of no matter what it is that you do, you can impact the world around you. You can connect into the things that need to make a difference. The last picture I'm going to show you is a little bit of a personal piece. Those are my parents. And what they're doing right now is illegal. This is 1966. This is a year before Loving versus Virginia, which was the Supreme Court case that struck down the miscegenation or the interracial marriage laws. Dad was a white Southern Baptist from Mississippi who married a Black Catholic from Chicago, Illinois. And my grandfather actually came up to stop the wedding, and we joke we don't know whether it was the race or the religion that was the bigger issue within that. But the small thing, there's a small thing that started all of this. My parents met at a Bible conference in Indiana. And at that conference, my mom was actually interested in my dad's best friend because he had the cool car and he had the great hair. And so there was a chance that would have been my father, but they ended up being short one lunch that day. and my father gave up his lunch for my mother. That small thing led to 55 years of marriage, 55 years of the two of them working together and being a part of racial reconciliation, focusing in on task force within the community to fight racism, inspiring me and my siblings, and working together around racial justice over that time. When you look at the things that happen in our world, when you look at how much stress and strife exists, there is so much that comes back to this piece about race. It's one of the greatest challenges within our country. And so much of it deals with the foundation of this country. So much of it deals with the way people connect to each other. And that is the most hardest and frustrating piece about that in terms of connecting. And it can sometimes seem too big. It can sometimes seem as something that is so insurmountable that you're never going to be able to address it or deal with it. And as you look at that, you wonder, what can I do? How do I do this? I may not be able to organize a movement, or I cannot go ahead and make a great speech. And that is the point that Dr. King was talking about. He knew that not everybody could lead a movement, that not everybody could make broad sweeping change. But he also knew that change came from people doing what they could, making the efforts within their community, connecting in to anything that made a difference and a change. And you saw many examples on the video ahead. It's talking to your neighbors. It's connecting with people who are different from you. It's learning about the things that are out in the world, and it's going ahead and sharing that with others. We go every day and we don't think about these small, subtle things that can make a huge difference in people's lives. That the simple act of kindness can open somebody's heart. That the simple act of speaking to somebody, of getting to know people, of understanding their stories, understanding the impact of what their lives have been for them, how much that can change people's opinions, how much that can change people's connections. Racism comes from such a place of ignorance. And part of that ignorance is just not knowing people, not being connected to others' experiences. And when we talk about the efforts that we need to make, it always goes back to this central piece about love. And that's what Dr. King stood for. Love of community, love of fellow human beings, being able to connect into that. It is one of the smallest things, but done in a great way, has a great impact, and makes a difference in the world that we have. And that's the way we bring about the change and realize the dream of Dr. King. Thank you very much.
Colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, and My name is Yipsera Yidnakacho, and I'm on the Chaska speech team. Today I'll be reading one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches, A Time to Break Silence. Now, let us rededicate ourselves to the long and bitter but beautiful struggle for a new world. This is the calling of the sons of God, and our brothers wait eagerly for our response. Shall we say the odds are too great? Shall we tell them the struggle is too hard? Will our message be that the forces of American life militate against their arrival as full men and we send our deepest regrets? Or will there be another message of longing, of hope, of solidarity with their yearnings, of commitment to their cause, whatever the cost? The choice is ours, and though we might prefer it otherwise, we must choose in this crucial moment of human history. As that noble bard of yesterday, James Russell Lowell, eloquently stated, "Once to every man and nation comes a moment to decide, in the strife of truth and falsehood, for the good or evil side. Some great cause, God's new Messiah, offering each the bloom or blight, and the choice goes by forever, twixt that darkness and that light. Though the cause of evil prosper, yet 'tis truth alone is strong, though her proportions be the scaffold, and upon the throne be wrong. Yet that scaffold sways the future, and behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. And if we will only make the right choice, we will be able to transform this pending cosmic elegy into a creative psalm of peace. If we will make the right choice, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our world into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. If we will but make the right choice, we will be able to speed up the day, all over America and all over the world, when justice will roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream."
The Chaska Human Rights Award is given annually to an individual or group who have made a special effort to ensure that all of Chaska residents have equal opportunities in employment, housing, public accommodations, services, education, and other affairs related to the social well-being of Chaska. This substantial effort toward winning or preserving equality and justice for groups of people must be reflected in the actions of the individuals or groups that are acknowledged through this award. This year marks 10 years of recognizing individuals or groups who have given substantially to our community in both small and great ways. The Human Rights Commission honors these former award recipients who are with us today. If you are here, I'd appreciate it if, when I call your name, to please stand. Jana Herbstrand, Guardian Angels Homebound Ministry. Reverend Gordon Stewart. The Gathering Place, a St. John's Lutheran ministry. The Blessed Bee Thrift Store, founders Carol Bonetti, Sarah Carlson, Sue Mueller, Garney Warner. Launch Ministry. Love in the Name of Christ. Libby Fairchild. Barbara Colhat, her family is with us today. Leanne Winters. To each of you, our sincere thanks for the work that you have done in our community. We acknowledge your dedication and selfless acts that have created change in our community. The Human Rights Commission received 5 nominations for consideration to receive the Chaska Human Rights Award for 2021. Each of the nominations provided activities and achievement that the award honors. The applications were received, cited the efforts from Charter Bank manager Melissa Carlson, no relation. Dairy Queen of Chaska, Girl Scout Troop members 1554, members Sydney Beckers, Justine Myers, Vanessa Fashing. His House Foundation, Southwest Transit. Here to announce the recipients of the 2021 Human Rights Award is City of Chaska's Council Member Mike Wong.
Hey, thank you and good morning. Well, founded in 2008 by Martha and James Brannon, Terry Bennett, and Shelley Cruz, His House Foundation has been serving individuals with the deepest of needs. Since coming to Chaska in 2018, His House Foundation has resided in the basement of the Chaska Moravian Church, providing clothing, household items, and food, as well as assistance through funding from the Minnesota Medical Assistance Benefit Program to support individuals with disabilities including mental illness and substance abuse. When His House Foundation cannot meet a need, they work together with their network of community contacts to connect their clients with those who can. The Abundance Food Program is a partnership with Carver County and local food providers, restaurants, and retailers to reduce food waste within the county. It provides individuals and families with fresh vegetables and food that is not always available on a local food shelf. On a monthly basis, about 14,000 pounds of food reach people in need instead of landfills. In 2020, over 20 people a day, that's over 2,000 clients throughout the year, used these services here in our own community. Sadly, 2021 has even greater demand. The team at His House Foundation has worked tirelessly to provide support for individuals and families as they transition from homelessness to sustainable housing. They continue their ongoing commitment to its mission with the belief that all people have unique skills, talents, and hope that can transform lives. They're working to meet these needs with respect and without judgment, improving the lives of all Chaska residents. With that, it is my honor to present this award to Martha Brannon on behalf of His House Foundation.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His wisdom in pursuit of racial justice is still alive today and reflected in the minds and hearts of so many in our community. I also want to thank the Chaska Human Rights Commission for hosting such a wonderful event and extend a heartfelt thank you to community member and Chaska Human Rights Commission member Sarah Carlson for nominating the recipient of the award I'm about to introduce. 2 years ago, at a previous Martin Luther King breakfast, I sat humbled, listening to Dr. Josie Johnson's keynote address to our community. She implored us to be a reflection of Dr. King's call to love, respect, and a commitment to serve and value one another. The Chaska Human Rights Commission Service Award was created back in 2011 with this goal in mind. It acknowledges those, whether an individual, company, or an organization in our community, that demonstrates the love, respect, and shows value towards one another. Several years ago, the Girl Scout troop of 15554 came together, challenged to find a solution for a local need in this community that was accessible to all and sustainable. Utilizing their brilliant creativity along with a little bit of research, they came up with the idea of a free little pantry to serve those in our local community experiencing food insecurity. This wooden pantry, constructed mainly by the troop members and leaders themselves, is situated outside of the Chaska Moravian Church in downtown Chaska, and it serves so many. Since 2017, its doors are a reminder to all in this community to open them. It invites those to care for others by donating common food and hygiene products, and it welcomes others to take those items in times of need, with no fear of judgment and no barriers. This simple yet profound act of compassionate thinking has led to a self-sustainable community asset that benefits so many in need. It has a Facebook page of over 800 members that keep the pantry strong and stocked with up-to-date status reports of supplies, and it also provides updates on a future planned larger pantry that will help serve more along with handle the unpredictable Minnesota weather. The success of the little wooden pantry is a reflection of its 8 core values that the city of Chaska has adopted so many years ago. Those values are citizenship, environmentalism, generosity, human worth and dignity, integrity, learning, and respect for others. I am personally proud to live in a community with these youth leaders, and I am honored to recognize and present the 2021 Human Rights Commission Award to Girl Scout Troop 15554, whose membership includes Vanessa Fashing, Sydney Beckers, and Justine Myers, along with troop leaders Stephanie Beckers and Joanna Myers. Thank you on behalf of the City of Chaska and the Chaska Human Rights Commission for all that you have done to help our community.
Wow. Thank you again to our award winners. It speaks highly of our community. Dr. King used the phrase, "a beloved community," as a place where injustice ceases and love prevails. Now, more than ever, it is critical that we increase our understanding of what individual and collective efforts we can undertake to make this a reality. How can we move closer by creating a just, humane, respectful, and equitable world? By working together and by recognizing that it begins with each of us. We have heard today the many suggestions and recommendations to hear about bringing change in our community. We've seen the actions commemorated through the Human Rights Award of the Girl Scout Troop and His House Foundation. Take your small step and make Chaska a community with justice, equity, respect, and dignity. Our many thanks to those who made this event possible: the Arts Consortium of Carver County, the Chaska High School speech team, Chaska Parks and Recreation, Dunn Brothers Coffee, El Pisano Bakery, Kindness 112, La Academia, and all of you for being here today. I'm going to ask you to do one small thing before you leave. Maybe two. One, greet your neighbor. And then 2, as you leave, please check underneath your chair to see if there's something there. If there is, please stay back and help us clean up this room. Thank you so much. I'll look forward to seeing you next year.